Good afternoon, class. How are you all? Hope by the grace of God you are doing well. Today too we are going to learn a new topic in ICT. And our topic for today is hardware components. So what is hardware components? Let's dive into them and know what hardware component entails. So what is a hardware component? Hardware components are the physical tangible components or the physical tangible computer devices which aid in its functions such as input, processing, output, and storage. So what we are talking about here is hardware are the physical touchable component of a computer that helps the computer to carry out its functions. And these hardware components are grouped into input, output, processing, and storage. So all these stages have hardware components that helps the computer to perform its functions. Okay, good. Now let's move on to the devices that helps the computer to carry out its functions in input, processing, output, and storage. Now we move on to the input devices. So the input devices, we have the keyboard, we have the mouse, we have the touch screen, we have the camera, we have the scanner. So all these devices helps the computer to carry out its functions. As you can see with the diagram over there, all that you see there are input devices that helps the computer to carry out its duties. So we have the touch screen, we have the camera, we have the scanner, we have the microphone, we have the trackball, we have the joystick, we have the webcam, we have the keyboard, and we have that of the mouse. Okay, so these hardware components helps the computer to execute its functions. Now let's move on straight to that of the processing. So as you can see here, processing device. So we have the central processing unit. That is the processor. So the processor helps the computer to perform its duties by processing the data that we input into the computer and giving you out the information. So the diagram you see there, you can see, you can feel, and you can touch. So that is the hardware component and is the aspect which helps the computer to process data into information. Let's move on to that of the output devices. So as you can see, the output devices, you have that of the monitor, you have that of the speaker, you have that of the printer, the plotter, the projector. As you can see with the diagram also over there. So all these devices, you can see them, you can touch them, and can feel them. They are the hardware component aspect of output that helps the computer to bring out information. Okay, so with this, now let's move on to the storage and know the devices that helps the computer to carry out its functions. We have the storage devices. So with the storage devices, we have the random access memory, we have the pen drive, we have the hard disk, we have the optical disk, we have the memory card. So with the diagram associated to it, all these devices helps the computer to carry out its functions. Is that okay? They are the hardware component. That is what I want you to understand. They are the hardware component that helps the computer to carry out its functions. Now let's move on to where you can go and read more. If you want to make more reference, if you want to dive into what you've learned so far, this is the site that you can go whereby you can have access, or you can learn more, or you can dive more, or you can know more about the lesson that we've taken today. So we have the search network tech targets, you have the courses luminarlearning.com. so this site will help you to know more, learn more, and dig more into hardware component. So with all being said, we come to the end of the lesson. And with it, we said that, with all being said, hardware components are the devices that we see, we feel, and touch, which helps the computer to execute its functions. And these components are grouped into input, processing, output, and storage. So this brings us to the end of our lesson, and hope to see you guys next time. And from this is bye from now. I hope you have questions. You can send it through my email, then response will be given. Okay.